The rain had stopped only an hour earlier, and the road leading into Ikoyi still shimmered with puddles reflecting the pale afternoon sun when Tobena Okafor knelt beside a stranded silver Camry, his hands stained with grease, his own future waiting nervously somewhere across town in a restaurant. He was already dreading to enter. He had exactly 40 minutes before his blind date, arranged by his older sister who had grown tired of watching him raise his 6-year-old daughter alone, insisting that a man with a good heart deserved a second chance at love. Tobena did not want a second chance. He wanted to survive the evening, smile politely, and go home to tuck Ngozi into bed. But as he drove past a smoking hood and a woman standing helplessly beside her car in a cream dress that clearly was not meant for roadside repairs, something in him refused to keep driving. He pulled over without thinking twice, the same instinct that made him the kind of father who canceled his own plans whenever his daughter needed him. The woman turned, startled, clutching her phone with the exhausted panic of someone whose day was unraveling in real time. She explained through short, flustered breaths that her car had simply died in the middle of traffic, that she was already late for something important, and that she had no idea what to do next. Tobena offered a small, reassuring smile, the kind he used when Ngozi was afraid of thunderstorms, and told her to give him a few minutes before she gave up on the car entirely. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in strangers who choose to stop when the world tells them to keep driving, hit that like button, drop a comment below, share this story with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Whispering Tale Stories, because this journey is only just beginning. Her name was Daisy, though she did not offer it right away. Too consumed by frustration and the growing dread of arriving late to a date she had only agreed to because her best friend refused to stop, nagging her about being alone. She wasn't looking for love. She had built a life of intentional independence after a relationship that left her guarded, running her own interior design firm, filling her days with fabric, swatches and floor plans instead of the messiness of romance. Yet here she was in heels not made for standing on broken asphalt, watching a stranger in a faded blue work shirt lean over her engine like he had done this 100 times before. Tobena worked with quiet efficiency, the kind that came from years of fixing cars not out of hobby but necessity. Single fatherhood had taught him to repair anything that broke, from bicycle chains to broken hearts, because there was rarely anyone else around to do it for him. As he worked, he asked gentle questions to ease her nerves, learning that she too had somewhere important to be, someone she was meeting for the first time. Adais laughed softly, almost bitterly, admitting she'd rather deal with a dead car, battery than face another awkward dinner with a man chosen for her by someone else. Tobena chuckled, surprising himself, admitting he felt exactly the same way. There was something oddly comforting in their shared dread. Two strangers standing in the golden afternoon light, bonded not by romance but by mutual reluctance toward it. He found the loose battery cable, tightened it, and within minutes, the engine sputtered back to life. Adaisi exhaled in relief, her shoulders sinking as though a great weight had lifted, and for the first time she truly looked at him, not as a stranger who happened to stop, but as a man whose eyes held a tiredness only life's hardest chapters could carve. She thanked him with a sincerity that startled them both, offering to pay him, which he gently refused, saying that helping someone in need was payment enough. As she settled behind the wheel, she hesitated, glancing at him one last time, feeling an inexplicable reluctance to drive away from someone who had just spent 30 unrushed minutes treating her like she mattered. But time was against them both, and she drove off toward her dreaded dinner, while Tobena hurried toward his own, unaware that fate was steering them both toward the same restaurant table. He arrived 15 minutes late, his shirt slightly wrinkled, his palms still faintly smelling of engine oil, despite his best effort to wash, up in the restaurant restroom. His sister had described the woman only as kind, hardworking and patient with life's disappointments, details vague enough to mean anyone. When the hostess led him toward a table near the window, his heart sank with each step, dreading the forced conversation ahead. But when he saw her, seated with her hands nervously folded on the table, wearing the same cream dress stained faintly with roadside dust, his breath caught entirely. Adais looked up and the same shock swept across her face, her lips parting in disbelief as recognition dawned between them. For a moment neither spoke, caught in the surreal collision of two separate dreads, merging into one impossible coincidence. Then almost simultaneously, they broke into laughter, the kind that dissolved tension instantly, drawing curious glances from nearby tables. Adaise admitted she had spent the last 20 minutes praying her date wouldn't be dull, and Tobena confessed he'd spent his drive over rehearsing. Polite excuses to leave early. Neither had expected the answer to their prayers to be the same. Stranger who had knelt on hot asphalt to save the other from a stalled engine and a ruined afternoon. Dinner unfolded differently than either had imagined. Conversation flowing effortlessly, stripped of the performative awkwardness blind dates usually carried. Tobena spoke of his daughter, Ngozi with the tender pride only a father who had sacrificed everything could carry. Describing bedtime stories, school runs, and the quiet ache of raising a child without the mother, who had left when Ngozi was barely 2. Adaise listened intently, moved by his openness, sensing in him a rare blend of strength and vulnerability she hadn't encountered in years. In turn, she shared her own guarded history, how heartbreak had taught her to build walls disguised as independence, and how she had almost canceled tonight's date, entirely out of fear of being disappointed again. As the evening deepened into a soft, orange sunset spilling through the restaurant windows, something unspoken shifted between them, an understanding that this unexpected meeting was not mere coincidence, but something quietly orchestrated by the universe itself. Tobena found himself hoping the night wouldn't end, something he hadn't felt in years, while Adaise caught herself smiling more than she had in months, her guarded heart slowly loosening its grip. Before the night ended, Tobena hesitated, then asked if she would like to meet Ngozi one day, an invitation that carried more weight than casual small talk, a silent test of whether she could embrace not just him, but the life he had built around his daughter. Adaise's eyes softened, and without hesitation, she said she would love nothing more, moved by the realization that this man's heart held enough room for both his daughter's happiness and perhaps hers too. As they stepped outside into the cool evening breeze, Adaise paused beside her car, the very one Tobena had repaired hours earlier, and thanked him again, this time not for fixing her engine, but for reminding her that kindness still existed in a world that often felt cold and transactional. Tobena smiled, admitting that fixing her car might have been the most important repair of his life, not because of the engine, but because of the doors it quietly opened. If this story touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that kindness has a way of finding its way back to us, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and share it with someone who could use a little hope today. Before we close this chapter, if you feel this story deserves to continue, type the word kindness in the comments below, and let us know you're rooting for Tobena and Adaise. In the weeks that followed, small moments built into something steady and real. Dinners shared over Ngozi's favorite jollof rice, quiet evenings spent assembling furniture for Adaise's newest client, while Tobena teased her about her impossible color schemes, and slow Sunday mornings where laughter replaced the silence both their homes had grown used to. Ngozi, initially shy, warmed to Adaise with the unguarded honesty only children possess, eventually declaring one evening that she liked her because she made her father smile the way he used to in old photographs. It was in that small, tender confession that Tobena realized what had begun as a reluctant favor on a rain-soaked road had somehow become the beginning of a family he never thought he'd have again. Proof that sometimes the greatest love stories begin not with grand gestures, but with a stranger simply choosing to stop and help.